I don't know if folks can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. Wow, Andy's really going to get it, and you don't want to be on my bad side, so yeah, I'm going to come up with a great plan, especially being the eldest of 14. We did a lot of pranks on each other, so just, yeah, you got to watch your back now. So I'm really proud to be here. I can tell you, this is really bothering me. I can tell you, when Andy's been trying to get me here for a while, and I guess it was just meant to be to come after the lawsuit, after the ban, after the wall, after just every un-American thing you could ever do to our own country. And so I'm more thrilled, though, being here and seeing all of you probably even more engaged than you ever been in your lifetime. And a lot of my residents and my neighbors who are what I call seasoned citizens constantly remind me of the 60s, and that this is reminding them so much of that movement. And in some ways, it's kind of inspiring them a lot, because they have been extremely frustrated. But I, served Representative Bennett's here. I was a staff person when he was serving, and Mary Valentine, who's here. And I can tell you the best judge of character when you're a staffer and how a state rep treated you when you were a staff person, and I got elected later. I was really mean to the ones that were mean to me and treated me like crap. But Mary and Rep Bennett did not do that, so I want you to know you had some great representation. No, really a tremendous amount of respect and love, and really treated me very fairly for someone that was this girl from Southwest Detroit that's trying to teach them about immigration and driver's licenses and all those things. Take on hate is personal to me. Andy might know, and others, but it all started because as I got out of office, the campaign was kind of gearing up, and they wanted somebody to really push this out nationally. And I hesitated, because working on racial justice stuff is really draining, and so personal to me, I can get really bogged down in doing that kind of work. And it took the cartoon. It was put in the USA Today, and it depicted, it was like a skeleton in the Nazi uniform, and it said like Allahu Akbar, which means God is great, and depicting Muslims as Nazis. And I was really, really so upset by it. I was just taken aback, because I just thought, oh my God. I went home and I told the father of my children, I said, Faze, oh my God, they're gonna want to kill us. I mean, this is like unbelievable. Why would, and this in USA Today. And I didn't know my, at the time, 10-year-old son came out. And I always still get emotional about it. But, he came into the bedroom and he said, but Mama, don't worry. If anybody asks if I'm Muslim, I'll lie and tell them I'm not. And, that was a moment in my life. I was like, God's trying to tell me something. And for those not spiritual, or, I'm always looking for signs that higher beings tell me this is where I need to go. And when he said that, I thought, my God, I'm 40 years old. I've always been doing the right thing, fighting for people all the time. I didn't care who they loved. I didn't care what their status was. I didn't care if they were good people. They deserved access to their dreams. And I just said, this is a sign. So I started getting involved with Take on Hate. I became more angrier, and if Andy can tell you, it's a really bad thing to happen when I can get really, really angry. But Take on Hate is national. And it really, really started off because these service organizations, these are human services agencies on the ground. These are people helping people get jobs. They're helping people, learn English. They're helping people, some of the things they do is like parenting skills and all these kinds of things. And these nonprofits, part of the National Network for Arab American Communities in 14 different states, said, they're hitting barriers. I mean, people want to change their names. They can't seem, so the kind of Islamophobia, this kind of like fear of people with these unique names, it started resonating in some of the work they were doing, and they wanted to do something about it. So they said, let's do Take on Hate. And as we proceeded on to starting to do this, it became like, we want to prevent people from getting hurt. We want to prevent hate crimes. And these are the things you don't see enough. And probably Rep Bennett and Rep Valentine have not seen this. But for a 7th grade teacher to call one of his students a terrorist, For this one really shocked me. This young, beautiful 6-year-old girl in a school in New York City, 2 boys jumped her and took her hijab off. Again, this is happening, again, resonating with our children. This is before the results of this election. This was 2 years ago. And so, as you know, things are getting worse. I'm sorry, Andy, I'm messing this up. Okay. This one was a young student. He's sick, and Sikh, and he's in a school bus, and he videotapes the kids taunting at him, calling him a terrorist. The other thing was some awful, hateful words on a rock at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Here you have literally being hounded on like social media. A school like expels Muslim teens for standing up against bullies and talking about the fact that this happened. They get expelled, the other kids don't. These are the kinds of things that for some of my friends, especially in Detroit, they're like, oh, that happened to my grandfather, that happened to my cousin at whatever school when it wasn't as diverse as it is now. And you know, it keeps continuing, Hamtramck and other places. And as you can see, like hate crimes have tripled, even way more than after 9/11. And MuslimGirl.net, my sister writes for them, .com writes for them, and they're a really good place to kind of get more information about this that's going on, these kinds of attacks, especially if you're, you know, to me, one of the things I tell the team at Take on Hate all the time is, you know, they're dehumanizing us because as you hear like, oh, Muslim teen gets shot or Muslim teen gets jumped, we don't know what the name of the Muslim teen is. We don't know, is the Muslim teen a soccer player? Is he or she, you know, an artist? Is she love poetry? Again, humanizing and putting a face behind a lot of these attacks is really important, and you all can do that by gathering this information. And that's what's been really hard for me, and as I've been hearing a lot of these awful things that are happening, is that people don't talk about them and talk about. So if you even look at Take on Hate's Facebook page and social media, we even talk and humanize the victims in Quebec. We talk about, this is a father of three girls. I believe one of them was 3 girls. This one was a store owner. This one was a professor. Again, really putting a human face behind a lot of these victims and a lot of people that are directly impacted. So many still fail to report it. I know for a fact that we have people that call Take on Hate, especially women that wear the headscarf, hijab, you might hear people call it, where, you know, a woman's, she was like with her kid in the stroller and somebody just kind of like pushed her. Again, not reporting it. I mean, again, even if you report that, you know, you don't know who the assailant was. You don't know a lot of this stuff. So some of this intimidation and some of this kind of hate incidents are not, again, being reported. There's little support. Even our Wayne County prosecutor in our area said that even though there are laws against hate crimes, there needs to be understanding that they're very difficult to prosecute, extremely difficult. When I was working at Access, we had someone call our offices and say, we're going to skin you alive until there's blood like rushing down I don't know, I answered the call, which was awful. I was an assistant, I was still an undergrad. And at that time, Duggan was our Wayne County prosecutor. And because there was a phone line, it wasn't a cell phone, it was landline still then, if you can believe that. And so we were able to track this person, and he was from Texas. And what the punishment was, and Access agreed to this, is like, look, we don't want him to have jail time, we want him to spend a week with us. And he did, and by the time he ended, he was in tears, and he was hugging us, and he was apologizing. Again, the power of humanizing so much of what's happening is so critical. What we have been trying to do is take unique approaches. I jokingly say these are not approaches we take, which is, you know, urinating on Trump's star in Hollywood. People are vandalizing, they urinate, they do all kinds of stuff. In Mexico, they burned a puppet of Trump. We don't do those things. That was supposed to be funny. I guess it wasn't. It wasn't funny. Okay, but we've taken a different approach. We have highlighted some amazing Americans who are of Muslim faith that are doing tremendous work. This person is a hero. One of the largest Islamic centers in the country, most beautiful one on Ford Road, lit up their mosque in blue to honor Autism Awareness Month. We do way more than that, but it's just examples of some amazing work. My friend Deanna, who she somehow had the Twitter handle Dr. Pepper, and so Dr. Pepper wanted to buy it. So in exchange for money, she said, "No, buy water for Flint," and that's what she did. She traded her Twitter name for water donation to Flint. Again, she's of Muslim faith, and again, an American of Muslim faith. And here, Ayman, a lot of people see Ayman a lot on MSNBC. He's a huge humanitarian, does tremendous work. Again, highlighting him, highlighting his contributions. Again, humanizing, not thinking of us as less American, less human, less worthy of love. We talk about the campaign Take on Hate. I mean, again, you heard me talk about the humanization of a lot of the victims. And you all might say, well, that's so basic, but it's so critical. It's one of the things that, as I learned about the civil rights movement, as I learned about so much movements in our country, from the LGBTQ movement and everything, it was about humanizing, about giving really the background and the stories of a lot of the things that are going on. Not just saying this happened, but saying, look at the stories behind them, look at these individuals as they are. Well, you guys know the importance of it. So some of our events are conversations. A lot of people think like rallies and stuff. We do those. I mean, we need to like let loose a little bit, but we mostly do conversations and kind of organically allow this connection to happen with people. People want to do something, but they don't know what to do, and to get them to have a conversation. So we have information sessions. We'll do booths at various locations. A lot of churches have asked us, look, can you just come on a Sunday and just have a booth, and any member of the congregation can come up and ask questions. We don't talk about the Quran, or we talk about Islam, but that's not what it's about. It's about just human respect, human contact, just human decency. We don't get into policy. We don't get into these specific things that so many people want to get into. A lot of you do, and that's great, and I'm a policy wonk, and I want to do those things, but at the same time, it gets down to the basics of those things. We also do really great things with like community conversations around films. I love those. Films to me are wonderful. People sit down, watch a film. It's very impactful. I have a friend that does work around mass incarceration. He shows a film and he talks about it, and he humanizes many of the people impacted by this mass incarceration that's happening in our country. And again, he finds it extremely effective because the visuals, the voices, the people, even though they're actors, they again help humanize a lot of the victims. So we just don't watch a film. Sometimes we do panels and things like that. I'm telling you this because these are options. These are things you can take. You always wait for people to ask. I don't just want you to sign up. I want you to be thinking about these things as you move forward and wanting to kind of combat hate in our country. We got really good swag. Our shirts are really, really cool. I just want you guys to know. And people proudly wear. I love it because I've seen T-shirts on tons of people and stuff. But we reach out to different networks, friends. We have listservs. If you sign up, you'll hear about some of the work we're doing. A lot of our team right now is at Southern Poverty Law, right now at the conference, learning about doing work more, again, with allies and learning a lot about what's going on policy-wise, too. So we try to maintain visibility through the hashtag #TakeOnHate. We try to be at places where we're not kind of expected to be. Again, some people are drawn to our table and drawn to the movement, but sometimes we have to bring them on. And again, using photos of yourself wearing the button or being somewhere and talking about, well, what's Take on Hate? Some people are like, oh, this sounds like aggressive. What is that about? Our young people came up with that, We had our older Arab Americans in this focus group, and they were like, hey, Rashida, why can't it be Take on Love, And I'm like, the young people are kind of different, and it's more about engaging them, kind of getting them along. We thought you all knew, Take on Love, but and they chose Take on Hate, and I think it was very fitting. So the types of organizations we do is beyond just Arab and Muslim organizations. We do so much work right now with Black Youth, like Beth Youth Project, trying to reach out to them about police brutality, just trying to have some really great conversations. I mean, I can tell you, looking in a crowd sometimes of watching like Arab youth with like Black youth has been such a blessing, because they would never have these kinds of really amazing conversations or understanding this kind of anti-Blackness going on in our country, and some of the really structural issues going on with racism in our country. And just watching that happen is pretty remarkable. So I want you to envision so many of our youth kind of talking to each other, engaging each other in that way. Before I do questions, this is really important to me. I saw this video and it made me cry. I mean, there's a lot of things that are really inspiring to me, and I share them with so many of my friends. But what this woman said resonated with me as a mother, and I kind of want to listen in on her and then open up for questions and some dialogue.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. On Christmas Eve, 103 years ago, my grandfather waited in a dark and dank cell. He sailed by steamship across the Pacific Ocean from India to America, leaving behind colonial rule. But when he landed on American shores, immigration officials saw his dark skin, his tall turban worn as part of his Sikh faith, and saw him not as a brother, but as foreign, as suspect, threw him behind bars where he languished for months. Until a single man, a white man, a lawyer named Henry Marshall, filed a writ of habeas corpus that released him Christmas Eve, 1913. My grandfather, Kehar Singh, became a farmer, free to practice the heart of his Sikh faith, love and oneness. And so when his Japanese American neighbors were rounded up and taken to their own detention camps in the deserts of America, he went out to see them when no one else would. He looked after their farms until they returned home. He refused to stand down.
That's right.
In the aftermath of September 11th, when hate violence exploded in these United States and a man that I called uncle was murdered, I tried to stand up. I became a lawyer like the man who freed my grandfather, and I joined a generation of activists fighting detentions and deportation, surveillance and special registration, hate crimes and racial profiling. And after 15 years, with every film, with every lawsuit, with every campaign, I thought we were making the nation safer for the next generation.
Mama.
And then my son was born. On Christmas Eve, I watched him ceremoniously put the milk and cookies by the fire for Santa Claus. And after he went to sleep, I then drank the milk and ate the cookies. I wanted him to wake up and see them gone in the morning. I wanted him to believe in a world that was magical. But I am leaving my son a world that is more dangerous than the one that I was given. Because we are raising a brown boy in America. A brown boy who may someday wear a turban as part of his faith. And in America today, as we enter an era of enormous rage, as white nationalists hail this moment as their great awakening, as hate acts against Sikhs and our Muslim brothers and sisters are at an all-time high, I know that there will be moments, whether on the streets or in the schoolyard, where my son will be seen as foreign, as suspect, as a terrorist. Just as black bodies are still seen as criminal. Brown bodies are still seen as illegal. Trans bodies are still seen as immoral. Indigenous bodies are still seen as savage. The bodies of women and girls seen as someone else's property. And when we see these bodies, not as brothers and sisters, then it becomes easier to bully them, to rape them, to allow policies that neglect them, that incarcerate them, that kill them.
My.
Yes, Rabbi,
Yeah.
the future is dark. On this New Year's Eve, this watch night, I close my eyes and I see the darkness of my grandfather's cell. And I can feel the spirit of ever-rising optimism in the Sikh tradition, Chardikala, within him. And so the mother in me asks, what if? What if this darkness is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb? What if our America... What if our America is not dead, but a country that is waiting to be born? What if the story of America is one long labor? What if all of our grandfathers and grandmothers are standing behind us now, those who survived occupation and genocide, slavery and Jim Crow, detentions and political assault? What if they're whispering in our ear today, tonight, you are brave? What if this is our nation's great transition? What does the midwife tell us to do? Breathe. And then, because if we don't push, we will die. If we don't push, our nation will die. Tonight, we will breathe. Tomorrow, we will labor in love, through love, and your revolutionary love is the magic we will show our children. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
So that's Valerie. Valerie Kerr started this movement called Revolutionary Love, and I still get teary-eyed every time I hear her speak. And to me, she gives me a tremendous amount of hope that this is a time for rebirth. And it's been amazing, kind of seeing the transition and seeing people that I've never seen at protest. I've never seen really come out with so much love and see the beautiful America that I know is here and breathing and wanting to come out. So I would love to engage all of you and hear from you, and you can ask me whatever you want to ask me, and hope that as we're talking about this, that we all are growing, that we're all really trying to figure out as we walk out of here what is next, what can we all do next.